Welcome to the CBZ Ruck Show, your weekly dose of school sport across Zimbabwe. My name is Robbie Durant, and I want to welcome a legend of school sport rugby.
My name is Ruben Chakarega. Legend, well, I'm not so sure about that. But the CBZ Ruck Show is here to make sure that you get information around schoolboy rugby in Zimbabwe, arguably the most followed rugby in the country. We're looking at information around players, Robbie. We're looking at statistics. We're looking at how schools are developing and going forward. But more importantly, CBZ is spurring a rugby development program, and we're going to be talking a little bit later on about that. But we also do have a special guest in studio as the segments are going to be coming. That is the Under-20 Junior Sables head coach. That is Sean D'Souza.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he had a picture actually bearing trophies, and he was sleeping with them, looking like Lionel Messi when he won the World Cup. So we're going to be asking him a little bit about that. But we're just looking at the show, though, Robbie. This is something important that has come into the spectrum of Zimbabwe to now really see where all of the stars that have been groomed within the nation. I mean, if we talk about more recent stars that have adorned the Sables jersey, the likes of the Shingika traders, they came from here. Some of those that are now breaking in to the Cheetah setup. We've got the Alex Nyamundas, the Edward Sigaukes, who are now setting the stage alight. All of them have come from these structures, and that's why we are here to talk about them.
Well, looking at the empowerment as well of what they're going to be doing, and also pushing into the development of the kids, giving kids opportunities where they wouldn't have been seen before. This is exciting stuff.
Oh, yes. So coming up in the next segment, we're going to be looking at just a brief look at the St. John's College Derby Day Festival, which was held just a couple of weeks ago, and look at what that provides for us as the season is about to start.
Welcome back to the CBZ Ruck Show. We are going to be covering the St. John's Derby that happened. Some big games happened there. Obviously, the last three games of the Saturday were exciting. Just the format of that, what did you think, Ruby?
Interesting. There was some discussions around that because the Derby Day Festival, in particular the rugby section, was put in a way whereby you played 25 minutes per half, and then you had 5 minutes. And 25 minutes, particularly at first team rugby level, can be quite short. So it was more of a shotgun approach. It felt more like sevens, so to speak, because the half was quickly done. And it also somewhat didn't give time for other teams to actually recover, so to speak, if they went down and, build some momentum. So it was a little bit tricky there. Spoke to the tournament directors, tournament organizers there, Doug Trevella, and he was just saying that maybe they might be looking to put it to 30 minutes next year. But anyway, we'll be observing some of that. And then looking at the schools that were there, of course, you had the host St. John's, you had St. George's, Falcon, some of the big rugby playing schools, and you also saw some of those that are edging to be on the big boys table, the likes of Kyle College, Heritage, Hillcrest, those that have had, ups and downs in terms of their rugby profile. So it was a pretty good festival. Would have loved to see more schools there, but however, we leave that to the tournament organizers.
Well, the support there was outstanding. I think there was over 7,000 people coming there. Zimbabwe Sables were actually playing, or the Goshawks were playing at the same time. But the thing is,
massive mistake.
Massive.
But anyway,
massive. But the thing is, looking at that, the amount of support that we've got for schoolboy rugby, the show like this, the CBC Ruck Show, is exciting stuff to showcase what we've got in this country.
Oh yes, it's very important to look at that. The level of support comes from the parents first and foremost, looking at their school children. But more importantly, you've also got peers. So each and every one of these players have got a following somewhat, whether it's 4 or 5 friends. Now imagine the number of players that were there, and then you say 4 or 5 players, 4 or 5 peers that are coming through to support, because there was also a relatively young crowd.
We managed to catch up with a couple of the coaches, Max Madziva, Ricky Chiringende, as well as Derek Chawara.
Oh, we did. And I've just said to them now in the talk there that it was very disappointing because when we played rugby, but we can't be that lazy. And a lot of us were just lazy. I think, to be fair to the boys, I think the occasion got to them. I don't think, last year the crowd was big, but I think this year the crowd was just super, it was very intense when we were coming out. So I think the occasion got to them. And I think that's what I said to them as well. They're like, you know what, you've got to go to that place where you kind of shut all of that out. The young boys, there's 15-year-olds in there, 16-year-olds in there. So, you also don't want them to shy away from the occasion because, look, it's exciting. People have come to watch them. They're at home. So, but they won. And that's what we asked them to do. So, great. I think this is one of those seasons where if you look at the scores, the whole tournament, the whole festival, the scores have been very close. Very, very close. So it's one of those where anybody can beat anybody. So we're just hoping to go back to the drawing board, polish the mistake. There's so many errors today, so many penalties that we gave away. It's so we really have to go back to the drawing board, and we need.
Yeah, I think it's a game of missed opportunities. We had plenty of opportunities to score, and I think the biggest difference from this game is Jones capitalized on their opportunities and we didn't. Yeah, absolutely. I think they call them coach killers, but again, it's pre-season. I think we need to take that into consideration. We're building, and yeah, we miss opportunities, but now you got something to work with, and we go back on Monday into the season, and we got a solid platform from which to work from.
It was a great game. Listen, at the end of the day, credit to all the boys from both sides. They gave it their all. You could see a lot of fight in the boys, and I'm really proud of my boys to obviously eventually dig out a draw. It is a game we had in the bag. We could have controlled it, but we allowed mistakes to happen. We allowed penalties to bring Gandhi back in the game. And eventually, listen, we'll pay for those mistakes. But overall, great game for the boys. It is. Every team wants to start off with games like this to prepare them well. These are the games that we need to obviously focus on a big season. And it's promising to be an exciting season because all teams are looking strong, teams are looking well drilled, and now it's up about what we do behind the scenes to obviously get a season going and making sure we're consistent in the right things that we're doing and obviously get the result at the end of the day.
The one thing that really stood out there, Ruvi, was what Max said about how tight the games were, that this season is going to be tight with the teams. It's some exciting stuff as well, and obviously all being covered by the CBZ Ruck Show.
Oh, yes. I think it's all done and dusted with COVID. We weren't training, this and that. That's out the window now. It's now down to business, and I believe that's the reason why some of the scores were closer. But I do believe that when we go into the season, some of those scores are going to stretch, especially if some of the schools who don't fix some of the challenges that they actually had during the festival. And I will come out and go out on a limb and say this, that a lot of the schools, a lot of the top rugby playing schools do not have number 10s. They do not have kickers. And I think we saw a number of the kicks right in front of the post, and you're busy kicking into the post. I think that is literally treason, especially when you're playing tight matches where margins of error are very, very small. So I think that will be one of the issues there to look at and watch out for. But I think just looking at what is coming up, first weekend up, I think the big encounter, Prince Edward taking on Falcon. I think that's the standout fixture for me. Prince Edward taking on Falcon down in Esigodini, as they call it, the Mad Dog's Pit. And the question will actually be who comes out of that one. Is it the Tiger? Is it the Mad Dog? Whichever way. I've heard Tiger supporters say that if you go down to Esigodini, you might come out with rabies. But I'm sure the Tigers will be looking to avoid that. So that's the standout fixture for me. And we'll be covering the analysis right here on the CBZ Ruck Show.
Well, we know as well that CBZ Rugby Development doing some huge stuff for rugby development. We're going to be chatting to a guest.
Oh, yes. Tawanda Jimu, he's not only at Prince Edward doing marvelous work there across all sports, but he's also going to be spurring this one on. So we're going to be hearing a lot more about what CBZ is doing and what they've put in place to develop rugby in Zimbabwe.
The CBZ Ruck Show. Make sure that you do follow us on Facebook, on Kairos Sport, as well as like, share. We're going to be sharing that, and you can also contribute there during the season. That's coming up, and we're going to be chatting to you off the break.
So welcome back to the CBZ Ruck Show. Hope you're enjoying it so far. Make sure that you leave comments on the Kairos Sports Facebook page. And, just let us know some of your comments, your thoughts in terms of the analysis that we'll be giving you on the show. But let's get straight into the CBZ Rugby Development Initiative. And to help me talk about it is Mr. Tawanda Jim. Tawanda Jim, I've known him for many years, right in there doing a whole lot of work at Prince Edward, but also even on a national level, working with Nash and all of those development initiatives. Well, Tawanda, thank you so much for coming through to the CBZ CBZ Ruck Show.
It's a pleasure, Rimo, having you on the show. Yeah.
All right, so let's get straight into it. We've got the CBZ Rugby Development Initiative. And thumbs up. Thank you so much, CBZ, for getting into that. What exactly are we looking at with this Rugby Development Initiative?
The initiative is a brainchild from COVID, where most of the kids could not do any sport, or most of the schools naturally had a downfall in terms of sport. However, we thought about it to say, why not give ample time to the kids? Number one, to fight drug abuse. Number two, to fight early pregnancies. Number three, also to give a livelihood to the kids. So looking at the national calendar, which is there, most of the schools maybe play one game and that's it. But maybe we're missing a gem that is somewhere down where we don't know. And that's the reason why I say, okay, fine, why don't you come up with a program that will give these guys an opportunity for them to play rugby, that will give them an opportunity to be seen, to be scouted, and also given a platform maybe to participate at the national level. So that's the problem.
All right, very important. And when I actually look at this, there are many schools of old. Just to quickly jog, many memories. The likes of Lord Malvin actually did well against Prince Edward at one point, much to the dissatisfaction of someone who's going to be coming a little bit later on. The likes of Vinona High School, what we've seen coming out of Mbare Academy, what we've also seen coming out of in the Matabeleland region with Plumtree, having played some really good rugby, Milton and so on and so forth. Are these some of the schools you're targeting?
Yeah, these are some of the schools that we're targeting, because we are not inventing the wheel here. We're just trying to give life to the cadaver that's been there. You're talking about the old schools. I want to talk of the recent schools like Saumani. They have been providing the ladies with the bulk of the national team under 18 for Craven Week, and since COVID, they haven't been playing rugby. And these are the schools that we are also trying to target to say, guys, let's come up and revive ourselves so that we can be seen, we can showcase ourselves and bring those glory days that you used to know. The infrastructure is there. It only needs maintenance. The players are there. They only need coaching and given the ball to kick around. Yeah.
All right. So let's look at how the format of this rugby development initiative is going to go. Are we looking at leagues? Are we looking at several days that they're going to be playing? How exactly is this going to be executed?
The plan is first and foremost to chew what I can bite, what we can bite as well. So we want to go on a national scale, but we cannot go on everyone because right now we're not so sure who's who and everywhere. So we said we start the program maybe around the Blue Whale, where we know schools have the infrastructure, they have the enthusiasm, building off from the rugby festival that people used to inquire about or coming to play. So the format that we are starting with, we will start with the sevens. Why sevens? Because the games will be played on a Wednesday. Saturdays, big games are there, so referees may not be available for us. So many things will be happening, the attention. So we want to start them on a Wednesday afternoon with sevens format, where all schools gathered at one central venue, which means there will be provision of ambulances, referees will be there, and then also everyone will be there seeing the talent that is there. So after that, then we can move the venues now across to say, Vinona, can you host us? Next week, Lord Morven, can you host us? So what you're trying also to do is, when they're going to that place, number one, they're making their food ready, which means they're also bringing the infrastructure into life. As we continue going on that, I think by the end of the day, we'll have so many structures around the country that will give rugby the face that it used to be, and maybe bring us to the World Cup.
All right. So in your view, and this would be slightly going off the script, but I know that it is pretty much in line. How important are these schools, and how important is this initiative in terms of contributing to the overall picture of Zimbabwean rugby?
I think it is very, very important. Number one, you look at football, for example. Italy, they complain that we don't have players that are playing in a domestic league, and hence we don't have players to come up on a national team. So was Gareth Southgate saying that to England. So in as much as we will not want to develop our own boys, our own girls, definitely will not have any players that will participate at an international level. So this is the base that we're trying to create to say, let's have a wider base pool of players that will be selected for anything that will be there at the sevens, at the 15s, at the women, ladies, or the disabled. So this is very, very important, number one, because we're giving a broad base to say Zimbabwe is now a rugby nation. Just like cricket is doing that, they go around dotted the city, playing all over. We also want that to happen in this country of Zimbabwe.
Oh, yes. Well, there's a lot of work that is going to be going down, and he's going to be the man who's going to be leading some of that development initiative and seeing that all these schools that we knew had glory days will be able to return back to these glory days, and ultimately we widen that player base. But thank you so much to Tawanda for joining us on the CBZ Ruck Show. And more importantly, he works with this man. The man that is coming up in the next segment is a man who has now become famous for doing what needs to be done, and that is providing success in the rugby circles at under 20 level. His name is Sean D'Souza, and he's going to be talking about some of the plans that he has for the Junior Sables as they go to the World Rugby Junior World Trophy to be hosted in Kenya in July.
Welcome back to the CBZ Ruck Show. I have now got the head coach of the under-20s, back-to-back wins. Sean D'Souza, congratulations.
Thanks, Robbie. Thanks for having me.
Sean, let's just talk about the road, the criteria of getting those kids to the under-20s from a schoolboy level. You obviously wear a hat of Prince Edward as well, but pushing those kids through and coming through with all the schools, I mean, it's incredible what you've done to create a squad like that with a back-to-back win.
Yes, Robbie, it's interesting. From the school setup, as carrying my hat at Prince Edward, it gives me an opportunity to also analyze the opposition and just track players as we play against them.
Tell us about that road of the school kids coming into the potential of opportunity with the under-20s. The training that obviously goes into that after school and then getting into obviously the under-20s and going and playing in Kenya and winning. It's a great opportunity for those guys.
Yes, we basically have a talent identification program where we have guys in different provinces who then give us names and players that we've identified throughout the season. We then call them in straight after the A-level exams, and then they come into the camps, and then we analyze, we groom them, we try and develop their skill sets, and then if they make the cut, we keep them in the system. They go into the academy setup, and then from there, they're then eligible for selection.
Sean, then looking at what CBZ is doing now with the development program that they're putting in place, this is going to bode well for looking at the entirety of Zimbabwe rugby and making sure that we're looking at those schoolboys from an entirety, and then you have the opportunity to select the best of the best.
Definitely. The elite schools are definitely covered from the 15s program, which is running well, and we're grateful for that. And the development program will definitely come a long way in keeping guys rugby active, giving us the depth pool that we're looking for, identifying the raw talent that's available in Zimbabwe.
Just tell us about your trip to Kenya. I think this, how much beer was drunk out of this baby?
Yeah, 20-year-olds do a lot of drinking, Robbie. That's all I can tell you. But yeah, the trip was good. We were hosted well by Kenya. Kenya has become our second home.
And just finally to close, with the CBZ Ruck Show, this is going to add great value for the local coaches, for the coaches that are coaching, to help them empower and obviously to also look for the talent that's out there, see the mistakes. We're going to be doing stats as well, which is going to be great. And that's going to help you guys, hopefully, going forward.
Definitely having stats available to us is good, especially when tracking players. It just gives you an idea of who's outstanding and who needs work. And stats definitely help in that department.
Sean, I've got to say congratulations once again. Good luck for the World Cup that's coming up. I know you're working hard. Your squad's now getting narrower and narrower. How difficult is it to get that squad down to what you need?
Trust me, Robbie. Just drawing up that 45-man squad had me with goosebumps. I just couldn't think of how I'm going to get that squad to 28.
And who do you drop? Who do you keep? That's Sean D'Souza, ladies and gentlemen, on the Ruck Show. Coming up after this, we're going to be chatting about this week's games. All hot. We've got Ruby back in the seat. Welcome back to the Ruck Show. How exciting was that, Ruvi?
Oh, absolutely great. And the chat that I had with Tawanda Jim and what they're looking to do in the CBZ Rugby Development Initiative is absolutely amazing. And I think starting with sevens is always good. Sevens is much easier to run and a simpler format to actually get some of those schools to get back into the thick of things. 15s is more technical, requires a lot more, and coaches and so on and so forth. I mean, you've got technical benches, like, for example, St. John's College has got close to 3 or 4 coaches there. St. George's pretty much the same. So if you are starting a development initiative, you would need something that at least one coach can manage. And I think sevens is quite a decent start. And I also want to point out to the fact I would love to see the glory days coming back. Wouldn't that be great for me as a Churchill supporter, seeing Prince Edward being beaten by Lord Malvin? I would celebrate all day long. But that won't be happening for a couple of years to come, I believe.
With the CBZ Ruck Show Development Rugby Program, you never know. You never know. Okay, so we are going to be catching up with the games this weekend. Some really entertaining games coming up this weekend, which we are going to be covering on the CBZ Ruck Show, as well as obviously next week post after the game as well.
Oh, yes. Well, first up, and as I mentioned at the top of the show, pick of the fixtures, Prince Edward versus Falcon. Yeah. I did mention before that Prince Edward look really, really solid right now. The kids were playing in the under-20 league, and that gave them exposure. You know, if you get a few tackles from some hard-running under 20s or 20-year-olds, surely it gets you riled up for the season. So I think they're pretty good on that. A few touch-ups, particularly within their back line, just to get them to be a little bit more fluid. But I think they've got a fantastic inside center who can throw a really long ball to really stretch defenses. So I think that's going to be key. Also, their captain, who's part of the loose trio, has been able to command his scrum to do the business, especially throughout the Derby Day Festival. And so I think Prince Edward has got a good shout. But, Falcon has got a pack to cry for.
Absolutely.
A pack to cry for, and them retaining the likes of Kolwani Moyo. I mean, he is a fantastic player. Last year, he destroyed schools literally one-handed. Well, he did have the help of the likes of Luke Pritchard as well as Cody Grant, who have since moved on. But he is a fantastic player. They've also got another one as well, who's called Vuyo Vuyani. I tend to mix up his name there, but he's also a fantastic inside center. So they'll have that experience in the back line to push them and urge them forward.
Well, that's going to be exciting. The other big game is Hellenic taking on Peterhouse. Peterhouse didn't attend the St. John's Festival. Your opinion on that as well?
Well, I would have advised them to attend the John's Derby Day Festival. It would have given them much needed pre-season game time to prepare for the season. They didn't go on tour. Other teams have now played literally 5 to 7 games already, so they're already match fit. As for Peterhouse, they'll find themselves in a tricky position. I believe Hellenic as well went on tour, and they were able to get a couple of matches under the belt. So Hellenic will be feeling much better, in a much better position to play. But Peterhouse, apparently, rumors do say that they've got a myriad of fantastic superstars. And if they can be made to gel together, then they can be a force to reckon with in the season. So I'm yet to see how Peterhouse will play, and that's what the CBZ Ruck Show is there for, to ensure we see.
Absolutely. So Falcon is playing at home, as well as Hellenic is playing at home. We are going to be catching up with some exciting stuff on the Ruck Show, and we're going to be chatting about that, some really exciting stuff. Remember to follow us, like and share on Cairo Sport. We're going to get back to you right now. Welcome back to the Ruck Show. You're with me, Robbie Durant and Ruvi, and we're going to be chatting about some exciting stuff now, what's going to be happening weekly on the Ruck Show, our presenters segment.
Oh, yes.
Exciting.
Oh, yes, the presenter's license. It gives us the license to say what we want. Well, not literally, but let's quickly take a look at the sides right now. I think, Robbie, first and foremost, to just hear from your perspective, the overall execution of basic skills. What was your thought process around the Derby Day Festival? What did you see?
Well, the games that I watched, the last 3, I did see obviously the guys running onto the ball, a lot of passing behind. That's creating obviously the knock-ons. Also looking at potentially not using their forwards enough. I think a lot of those teams could have used their forwards a lot more, especially the St. George's game where I saw them picking, going, and that was good work by St. George's. And I think if those teams can work on that, I think there's great opportunity to solidify, join the defence, and then we can obviously look at space. So from my opinion, it was mouthwatering as well. Close games are always nice as well. But that last game, St. George's and St. John's, I was right on the field. I was kind of bumping shoulders with the coaches there. And I mean, it's intense. You know, it's a lot of pressure. But I think the teams that are going to be coming through this year, I might put my head on the block. I might and I think St. George's is going to be one of them. I think also St. John's, watch out for them. And I'd like to see Peterhouse. I think Peterhouse is going to be a dark horse coming through, which could be a goodie.
And that's the reason why they didn't attend the Derby Day Festival. They wanted to be a dark horse. But anyway, all right. So on my own personal view, I tend to agree with that. I think St. George's executed their forward play much better. But I'm really concerned, particularly on the knock-ons. You mentioned a little bit about that. I'm concerned about backlines not being as fluid. I think Prince Edward was the most fluid in terms of backline play. I did mention some of the teams that are in transition, the likes of Churchill, CBC looking stronger, but not strong yet. They've still got quite a bit to go if they are to get back on the big boys table. I am concerned with the fly half position across all the teams. And I will hasten to say this, put my head on the block as well. Across all teams, I don't think I saw fly-offs that can really dictate the pace of the game. I didn't see fly-offs that were accurate kickers. And I think this is really going to be something that will separate the winners from the losers. There are going to be times when you need penalties and you're going to have to convert them. So hopefully we'll see fly-offs becoming better, much like what Cody Grant did for us last year.
Well, just also quickly, set pieces as well. Set pieces were scrappy. And also the teams are drifting. They're not drifting. We need to straighten up, get that runner straight, and that's where you're going to get over the gain line. We have also got our secret stuff for the week. We're going to be doing the biggest hit of the week. We've got the player of the week that we're going to be selecting from the 4 games, as well as selecting the CBZ Ruck Show team of the week. Now that's going to be exciting stuff.
Oh yes, very exciting stuff. So make sure that you let us know what you think of that when you get onto the Cairo Sports page. But hey, Robbie, we're basically done for the week.
And that's a wrap from the CBZ Rugby Show for this week. Catch us every single week, same time, same place. You can catch us on the Cairo Sports Show, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Catch us there.